Good morning, my friend. I'm Dr. Lee Warren. I'm so grateful to be with you for another episode of the podcast. We have an incredible guest here with us today to talk about something really important. Did you know that 1 in 3 teenage girls today are contemplating suicide? 1 in 3. And over one third of women, again, over one third, 33% of adult women in the United States have been diagnosed with depression. That's stunning to me. Over one third of the women alive today have contemplated depression or attempted suicide or have some kind of suicidal ideation. That's unbelievable. And I think it's unacceptable. I talk a lot about the veterans community, and we're losing 20 or more of our Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans a day still to suicide. That's unacceptable. Mental health crisis in our country is alarming despite the availability of therapy and resources and people talking about it. And it seems like the more we talk about it, almost the worse the problem gets. And so today we're going to talk about one thing that we can do that's been shown scientifically that clearly makes a difference. So we've got a special guest today to help us find the path forward. Allie Marie Smith is a life coach. She's an author. She's the CEO of Wonderfully Made. Her first book was called Wonderfully Made. The company is called Wonderfully Made, and it's a nonprofit that helps girls and women embrace their identity and their worth in God, because Allie has experienced the depth of depression herself. She's experienced suicidal ideation. She almost took her own life as a very young lady, and then she found hope. She tells that story in this interview. We had a great conversation because she understands how social media seems to be one of the gears that's turning that is making this problem worse, and almost, it seems, by design. So how does social media harm both your mind and your soul? Allie's going to teach us, drawing from her personal journey of overcoming depression and social media addiction. Allie's here today to talk about her new book, Social Media Reset, and the mission that Wonderfully Made is on to inspire and equip girls and women to break free from this leading contributor to mental illness and learn how to thrive. Jesus came to give us abundance, to help us find joy, and she wants you to really discover your joy, freedom, and a flourishing life that comes when you get your relationship with social media right. She encourages people to take a break, a social media reset. Look, we all long for lives that are full of deep connection with God, with ourselves, and with others, and yet we have become programmed, and I say that intentionally. We are being programmed to seek peace, contentment, and happiness with a device in our hands, with an algorithm that we need to keep chasing. Deep down, we know it's not how we're created to live. Every time you find yourself scrolling for a long time, you don't walk away feeling better, and yet you find yourself back there again. As endless scrolling leaves us feeling anxious, depressed, distracted, and alone, you realize that your deepest needs are not being met by turning to social media. So Allie's given us Social Media Reset, a beautiful new book. We share a publisher and the marketing and PR people at Tyndale that are working on my book or working on her book as well. It's out, available everywhere books are sold. Social Media Reset from Allie Marie Smith. She's inviting you to pause for 30 days and seek restoration in your mind, heart, body, and soul by disconnecting and experiencing a digital reset so you can open yourself up to the wholehearted life that God has for you. Like I said, Allie is an award-winning author, a speaker, a podcast host, a life coach. She's the founder and CEO of Wonderfully Made, which is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to helping girls and women find their value in their identity that God made them for, to experience vibrant mental health and lead flourishing lives. She lives in Santa Barbara County, California, one of my favorite places on the planet. And she loves to ride and play with horses and surf and adventuring up and down the California coast with her husband. She's got a website, allimariesmith.com. The website for her nonprofit is called wonderfullymade.org. I'll put all those links in the show note. We have a giveaway. We got 3 copies of the book to give away. Stick around for the end of the episode for that. But right now, it's time to have a deep conversation about social media, what it's doing to you, how it can rob your joy, how it can keep you from flourishing. And I encourage you, if you have a daughter or a granddaughter, or if you're a person who feels like this problem is affecting your life, dig into this. Consider reading it in a small group. Consider taking a group of women, and it would be good for boys too, frankly. Her book is kind of oriented towards women. Her mission and her work are kind of oriented towards women, but this is an important topic for all of us, okay? It's not just women. It's not just girls. It's boys and men as well. This is an important conversation about whether or not it might be time for you to take a social media reset. Because, my friend, I'm always telling you that you're here to become healthier and feel better and be happier. Is your phone helping you do that? Is Instagram helping you do that? Is Facebook helping you do that? Maybe it's time for a social media reset. We're ready to get into this deep and moving conversation with the incredible Allie Marie Smith. But before we do it, I have a question for you. Hey, are you ready to change your life? If the answer is yes, there's only one rule. You have to change your mind first. And my friend, there's a place where the neuroscience of how your mind works smashes together with faith and everything starts to make sense. So I'll ask you again, are you ready to change your life? Well, this is the place. It's Self Brain Surgery School. This is where you learn the truth about how science and faith are designed to work together to answer the big questions that trauma, tragedy, and other massive things bring us. Here is where you learn to manage your mind, optimize your brain, and navigate your life to become healthier, feel better, and be happier. This is the Dr. Lee Warren Podcast, where we go deep into how we're wired, take control of our thinking, and find real hope. This is where we leave the past behind and transform our minds. This is where we start today. Are you ready? This is your podcast. This is your place. These are your people. And now is your time, my friend. Let's get at it. From we're back, and I am so honored and excited today to be introducing to you to a new friend from Santa Barbara County, California. Alli Marie Smith is with us today. Welcome to the show, Allie.
Dr. Warren, it is such an honor to be here. And I want to say thank you so much for now being my spiritual brain surgeon. I am just so grateful for your work. And I know I speak for everyone who listens in. So it's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
And we're grateful for you. We're going to have a talk about some fun things, but also some really important and serious things today. And I'm proud of you and grateful to you. It's funny for me to say I'm proud of you. You don't know me, but as a father and a grandfather and somebody who's watching what social media is doing to people, really proud of the leadership and the way you're stepping into that space and taking ownership of it. And so we're going to talk about some deep, hard things today and also some really encouraging and exciting things. And before we do that, I think we probably ought to pray about it. How about that? So let's say a little prayer. God, thank you so much for Allie and the work that she's doing and the life that she's living, the leadership that she's stepping into in this space that's so important, especially for young women and girls, but for all of us really right now. And I just ask that you would ordain this conversation, that you would protect us from technology and from glitches and from any kind of internet problem, but also that you would lead us into exactly the words that somebody out there needs to hear today to give them hope. If there's somebody who's struggling with comparison traps, with anything that's happening that's stealing and robbing their joy, that this conversation today would give them some hope and some light again. And I pray your blessings on her and her husband and her family and everybody that's hearing today, that you would open their hearts and their minds to some new light and a new way to think about social media, especially. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk for a second about your story. Tell us a little bit about where you got to the idea of what social media does and what it's doing and why you decided to make a life, really a career out of what you're doing now.
Sure. Well, my work all came out of my own story. So I'm this founder and CEO of an organization called Wonderfully Made, and our mission is to help girls and women know their God-given value, identity, purpose, experience vibrant mental health, and lead flourishing lives. So that was birthed out of my story. As a girl, I was super feisty, confident, always playing sports outside. But around the age of 12, I started to experience these uninvited feelings of sadness, loneliness, unworthiness. And I entered high school and I decided my way of coping is I was just going to be as perfect as possible. And so I really hustled through overachieving and perfectionism. But that depression really, really escalated. And so every day was a battle and I hit it. You know, I looked like the all American girl, a scholar athlete, had it together, part of the popular crowd. But 17, something traumatic happened to me. And I remember one time driving to go home off the off ramp and thinking, what if I just crashed my car here? And so it escalated 2 weeks after I graduated high school. I was in a deep and a debilitating depression, wanted to end my life. I share my story in my book, Wonderfully Made, and I speak a lot about it. But at one point that summer, I actually tried to go to the Golden Gate Bridge to end my life by jumping off. But I got a flat tire. God intervened. He sent this kind-hearted, silver-haired man. He fixed my tire, went home with a little hope in my heart. tried to go to college later that summer. I had to be rehospitalized, but it was there that everything I placed my value and my identity in was taken from me. But the beautiful thing is I discovered the radical love of Jesus. I asked for a Bible. I always believed in God. I just didn't know I could have this deep friendship and really abide in him. And so as I poured over the stories of Jesus there, as broken as I could be in the psychiatric hospital, I just experienced a supernatural love of Jesus. And one day we were in the hospital chapel and this woman in the back sang Amazing Grace, and I was overwhelmed with the supernatural, invisible, but love of Jesus, and I surrendered my life right there through a whispered prayer, and I said, "I'm not gonna live for myself anymore, I'm gonna live for you, God," and I've never been the same since. I have dealt with mental health struggles since, at times. So that's how I got into the work, starting so I started, Wonderfully Made shortly after at the age of 20. So, having worked with girls and young women, having mentored hundreds of girls and young women, it is so devastating to see the crisis that is happening to them today. And I will say, without a doubt, it is predominantly caused by social media.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's how I got in this work and why I'm so passionate about helping girls put it in its place and help them live flourishing lives. I can go on about all of the statistics, but that's where it led me now into this direction of being a leading voice, not only to young women, but to men, to people of all ages about the serious spiritual, mental, emotional ramifications of social media.
Well, it's interesting that you have this story of being a person who wasn't, down and out, drug addicted, any of those things that we often think are the people who are going to struggle with depression. You had it all going for you. I mean, everything was right in your world on paper. What do you think led to the depression? Like, what kinds of things sort of drugged you down into that mental place?
So many complex factors. For one, I do have a brain that is wired in a way that has made it, I say God has given me a beautiful brain that has given me many, many gifts and talents and creativity. And it's also made life really, really hard and really even confusing for me at times. And I have gone to the Amen clinic, had my brain scanned, and, talked to my doctor and said, is this really even a real thing? Right. And he's like, yeah, no, I can see this on your brain. And so there's that component, right? Of a brain that is wired towards, overthinking, perfectionism, a bend towards rumination, um, self doubt, insecurity. There's childhood trauma, significant trauma experienced at the age of 17 that was devastating. I never told anyone about it for over 15 years. Stress, I was highly perfectionistic. I was so hard on myself and, hormonal issues or definitely hormonal imbalances. I mean, I was an athlete, I was exercising so well and I was fit and healthy, but I also wasn't eating I was eating carbs a lot and, those
Right.
that foods that probably, the standard American diet for an athlete, pasta, pizza, obviously that was a part of it. Um, I headed soccer balls for I don't know, 15 years. Very competitive soccer player, head trauma. So yeah, when I got to the Amen clinic, I saw my brain. There was definitely head trauma. And so, I used to really have a simplified version of it, but there are many, many complex factors. And then it became the perfect storm.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things that lead us to have a brain that does particular things, but you figured out after you made it through that dark period, you figured out that the things you feel and the thoughts that you have are manageable by changing what you think about, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, I messaged you and I said, I wish I had had you as my
No.
spiritual brain surgeon. And when I was 18, I went into the hospital, put on an antidepressant, sent home 3 days later after telling the doctor, lying to the doctor that I wasn't going to hurt myself. Our mental health system is so broken. Um, so yes, I have learned now a lot. And even in the last handful of years, with Dr. Amen's wisdom. He was so kind to endorse my book,
Yeah.
went to his clinic, and so I've learned a lot about the amazing tools God gives us to heal our brains. And so because I have been in such a horrible place, I would say I have been in really, really bad place, and I don't even go into the depth of it that much, is, God saved my life. I could have lost my life, and I am never going back. And so I am a woman of grit. I will do every single thing I can to fight for joy, to have the healthiest brain, the healthiest body, the happiest life. I can. And so every day I fight hard through mind renewal practices, exercise, eating whole nutritious foods, especially transforming the way that I think, which has been this journey, and it's this compounding journey. And I know God has really healed even the neural pathways in my brain. I mean, it is phenomenal what he has done, but it takes hard work. It does. It takes sacrifices. I gave up drinking when I was 21. I mean, it's hard work, and social media is another element. I'm not going to use this in a way that is going to harm my heart, my brain, my mental health, might steal my joy. So I have in your work, I just started binging on your podcast, Dr. Warren. I told you,
Thank
um, I am so grateful. And I just want to say to anyone struggling, like, I've been where you've been, and my mental health has been as bad as it could possibly be. And we have a God who heals, and he can transform our brains, our lives, but we have to actively participate in that healing journey.
That's right. And I think it's important to say this, like, friend, whoever you are listening out there, don't give yourself an asterisk when you hear Allie and I talk. Don't say, yeah, that's fine for you, but my brain doesn't work that way. My brain's different. Like, all of us have different brains, and the way that your brain works can come under the control of your mind, and the Holy Spirit can change it. That's the message we're both saying here. Like, you can heal from PTSD, you can heal from drug addiction, you can heal from abuse or any of the other things that happen, and you can have a different life. And she's an example of it. Thank you for sharing your story. I know it's not easy to talk about some of those things, but let's pivot for just a second and talk about some of those statistics that you mentioned before we were recording about social media and the unique role that it's playing in our lives right now. Like, what's going on with social media, and why is it so impactful on our mental health?
Well, there's so many levels. It impacts us on a spiritual, an emotional, a relational level. I will say, I'll make the bold claim, our world in 21 years since its onset has never been so divided, anxious, lonely, fearful, suicidal, sexually confused, divided, polarized. I'm going to make that bold claim. And it's happened so fast. So, the suicide rate, for example, among young people ages 10 to 24, after 2010, after the onset of social media, smartphones, increased 62%. Now, our sweet, precious girls are at the epicenter of this social media induced mental health crisis. Today, 1 in 3 teen girls seriously contemplates attempting suicide. About 3 in 5 are persistently sad and hopeless. The suicide rate went up 167%. ER visits for girls over 188%. Um, Gender, dysphoria diagnoses, transgenderism among girls just skyrocketed, became a social contagion never seen before in all of human history. Um, so it is devastating, and adults, women, men are also being affected. Our relationships, quality of our relationships, our productivity, our intellect. There are so many serious ramifications, and for those of us who follow after Jesus and seek to live our lives for him, those spiritual ramifications are so serious. And what it does to us on a soul level is so grave, and we must talk about it.
That's right. And I think you're getting at the heart of what happens with social media is we need to understand by design, like they designed those algorithms to keep you scrolling and comparing yourself and being constantly searching for a reward mechanism in your brain. So this is an intentional act on the part of the
Mhm.
designers of the software. And so we need to be armed with that information when we're allowing our children to get onto it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Just like you said, I mean, they hired human behavioral scientists to prey upon our God given desire to be liked, seen, and known. And they implemented these psychological manipulation tools, such as the like button, which is a measure of social validation, such as the infinite scroll that prevents stopping cues, such as the search and explore section that brings us custom content that they know is going to get engagement. And so they do not have our best interests in mind. They care about one thing, and that is power and money. And we are really not the user. We are actually the product being sold. And so actually the ARPU per user, average revenue per user, is on average, Meta is making almost $60 per person every year. And so you're right. We need to go with wide open. It is designed to be addictive. You know very well, Dr. Warren, that addictions make us sick. They ruin our lives. They harm our relationships. They steal our joy. They keep us from being the fully alive people God created us to live, to walk in freedom and joy and abundance. This is serious. And here it is right in front of us all day long. We get that you're the expert, right? We get that dopamine hit in our brain, that pleasure neurochemical every time we see a heart, a like, a new comment, a new follow. And that keeps us going back and back and back, more and more and more.
That's right.
And so over 30% of adults say they are definitely addicted. Kids, especially. Yeah. So,
Their whole societal ecosystem now depends on how many friends they have, how many followers they have, how many likes they get. Like it creates this sense of value. Like if your social media account isn't growing appropriately, you're not as valuable as somebody else is, right?
oh, absolutely. And that is so damaging. Girls, especially, definitely, especially, I'm an adult woman. I'm like, oh, how many likes today? Oh, I only have like 8 likes. Are you kidding me? But yeah, absolutely. These precious girls are being deceived to think that their value is measured by little red hearts and follows. And that's not okay. We have to stop that. It's these social comparisons are soul crushing to girls, to boys, to adults. And, this is a world we weren't designed to live in.
That's right.
Social media is a world God did not create us to live in. And you know what? It's making us sick. It's making us so unwell in body, mind, spirit, and soul.
Yeah. You're right. So what did you in your personal life, like where did you come to this conclusion that you needed to reset things a bit? And what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I got my Facebook account right when you had to have a .edu email address.
Yeah.
And, so I had that, and it was fun for a while. I got Instagram. Instagram was fun, just post pretty pictures, didn't really get any likes, but as the algorithms changed and they really became money hungry, I fell into a social media addiction. And if you're listening right now and you're like, "Oh, I'm totally addicted to social media," that's okay. No shame on you. It's actually normal, right?
Yeah.
And so because God saved my life, Dr. Warren, I see every single second of my life as sacred. I don't want to waste a breath of my life. I say it's an honor to have a heartbeat and breath in our lungs.
That's right.
And that is an honor and a privilege. And I decided being envious and engrossed in other people's lives is an insult to the God who gave me mine. And when I discovered, well, it was making me anxious. I was on it all the time. I was picking my phone up, a couple hundred times a day. I was stiff necked. I mean, every moment, right? Just looking, tapping, tapping, how many likes? Oh, became this neurotic relationship with it. And I will say most girls and women are in that sort of relationship with it. And so when I discovered I was on track to spend 5 years of my life scrolling through strangers, celebrities, influencers' lives while my own life went neglected, I apologized to God and I said, "No, I'm not gonna let that happen to me." So what did I do? I took an extended break, and then I found one boundary that worked for me and simply broke my addiction, and that was simply I took all the apps off my phone. I haven't had any social media apps on my phone in over 12 years. I do have an iPad, so I can access it there. I'm not gonna bring my iPad around the house or in the car or to the store or to the park, and, when I used to share more personal photos, which I've pulled back a lot, I would share them with from my iPad, right? And I share, "Oh, looks like you went to Hawaii." And actually, I went like a month earlier, right? So I would never
Yeah,
post in real time. And so that's changed everything for me. And then I have very strict boundaries. I will say I'm extreme, but that works for me. But I empower my readers in Social Media Reset at the end of my book after they pull back for 30 days and go through this really exciting, what I call a life coaching journey and a reset for their soul. I have boundary ideas. And so every one of us, we have agency. We decide what kind of boundaries we want. So yeah, today I use it very minimally. It's funny, I just launched my book and I decided this month I have a private account right now. I go back and forth and I'm pulling back with a group of women. I'm not going to be on social media this month. And so I have a lot of boundaries and they work for me. And just want to encourage your listeners there's so many ways you can get creative to put it in its place and to master it so it doesn't master you.
that's right. So, what have you seen in your life since you made that decision? How did things get better for you after you reset things for you?
Oh, it was a night and day. I mean, my joy came back. I was present to my husband and the people I love. I was excited to wake up. I would wake up and I now wake up and my feet hit the ground. I'm like, this is the day the Lord has made. I'm going to rejoice and I'm going to be glad in it.
Yeah,
I don't pick up my phone. I spend time in God's word and worship music and journal. I mean, my whole life has changed. And you know what? I strive to live the kind of life God intended us to live because the more that we can move in that direction, the more we're going to flourish. And so, yeah, I know that for me, if I have the apps on my phone, oh, for sure, I'm not going to be able to resist that pull. And so that works for me. And yeah, absolutely changed everything. I think it's one of the reasons I'm thriving that, not drinking alcohol, all my healthy habits. So we can't talk about mental health today without talking about social media.
that's right. So, what do you think? Well, let me rephrase that. Take us through the way that you put the book together, like why you decided to write this book and the way you put it together, and what can somebody who's not familiar with it yet expect to get when they check out your book?
Sure. Well, the title of the book is Social Media Reset, a 30-day guided journey to unplug, reconnect with God, and reclaim your joy. And honored to share the same publisher as you and Dr.
That's right.
Amen. Definitely have imposter syndrome. So the idea for I wrote it for girls and women, but men, a lot of times men read my books and they get a lot out of them too. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of practical tools. So the idea is, yeah, you go off for 30 days. You allow the neural path, your brain to heal, right? To overcome the bad neural pathways. You can explain it better than me. What it does with the negative effects that it's done to our brain, reset our neural pathways. It allows us to fall asleep to comparison, to fall asleep to the lives of other people, to wake up to the gift of of the miracle of our life, to invest in our dreams, our talents, our relationships, to take all that time we're getting back. In the beginning of the book, I have my readers do a technology inventory and they say how many times they're picking up their phone, what their daily average phone usage is, social media usage is, and I have them multiply that by 30 to see how many hours they're getting back. Average women 3 hours, girls are like 5 to 9 hours. You multiply that 30, I'm going to get 90 hours of my life back.
yeah,
And then make an exciting plan. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to get really good at? What adventures do you want to have? What do you want to create with your hands? And then it's a life coaching journey. So I've been a life coach for girls and women as well. And so the idea is you come back to God, and I have 30 chapters on different topics, and they're filled with tips for human flourishing that are taken from the Bible,
Yeah.
practical things we can do. One of my chapters is um, a sound mind and a healthy brain, actually, like very practical things. So it's this journey of waking up to the abundance of our life, to walking in the fullness of joy, to glorifying God with every single breath we've been given. And so it's really even more than social media reset. It's this reset for your soul. And even if you don't go off social media, there's a lot of value in it. So that's my hope is I want every girl, every woman, every person to just be in awe of God and be so grateful for the life we've been given and to live it to the fullest without any regrets.
That's right. What do you think about ex- examples that you've seen of coaching and how maybe tell us a story or two of somebody that you brought who first came to work with you and the kind of changes that you're seeing in these lives of these young girls?
Sure. Well, now when I do coaching, my availability is very limited as an author and a speaker and a CEO. However, moving forward, I'm going to require all my clients not to be on social media. So there's one young woman in particular who came and she was experiencing anxiety, self-doubt, all these things. And I said, let's just have you go off social media for a while. 3 days in, 5 days in, a weekend, completely shifted. I mean, night and day. The anxiety subsided. She was happier. She was more joyful. She was making jewelry. She was going
Wow.
hiking, doing things with her friends. And I will say, if you're a counselor, if you're a doctor right now, I believe that one of the first things counselors and doctors should prescribe is a social media detox fast. And I'm going on another tangent, but yeah, night and day. I just had a friend. She was interviewing me, and she was talking about her angst with social media. I was like, "Hey, what if you just deleted the app right now, live while we're on the interview?" And she did, and she came back, like, 3 days later. Oh my goodness, she felt like it was an intervention, like a drug was being taken away from her, and now her life is so much better. I mean, there is not one person I know who goes off and regrets it. I mean, you know the studies, right? That even 3 days off your smartphone, 3, 5 days instantly off social media, instantly increases, peace and decreases anxiety. So
Do you know Carlos Whitaker? Have you heard his story?
I have, yeah, I read his book. Yeah, it's really
It's
interesting. I actually tried
fascinating.
to reach
Yeah.
out to him. That was a great yeah. I would love to live among the Amish. I would love to, but by the beach.
Well, I think it just proves the point that you were just making. Like, so Carlos Whitaker, listener, well, he's going to be on the podcast soon, but he was a guy who went to see Dr. Amen and got his brain scanned. And then he spent a month just unplugged from modern society. He lived with some Amish folks and just got off the grid, basically. And I don't think it had anything to do with the Amish in particular. It had to do with he was disconnected from electronics, basically, and from social media. And then he scanned his brain again at the end, and his brain got younger. Like the damage is reversible. So the point here is that Allie's story and the stories of the girls that she's coaching and the story of Carlos Whitaker is that whatever's going on in your brain that's been created by these addictions and these habits and this technology and this pursuit of comparison is fixable. Like, you're not stuck with this. And so I think that's where we find the hope that God can heal you if you give him an opportunity to do so.
Yes, absolutely, and I actually had a 5-week teaching course that I filmed with Right Now Media to walk women in churches. Actually, if anyone does a book, I tell, like, do it with friends, do a group with women,
That's right.
and build community. So I'm actually doing that in our valley, like, we're all meeting at the park, we're all going off together. Um, but the idea of I say in one of the teaching series, like, how can you live as like a modern monk, right? Like,
Yeah.
we look at the rhythms, the routines of Jesus, and they are that leads to flourishing life. Like, how far we removed are we from these ancient spiritual practices, rhythms, routines that Jesus modeled for us? Solitude, silence, community, hospitality, being present, right? And and so the more that we return to the natural way God created us to live, which is not this digital world, He created us for these beautiful embodied lives. And that's what's happening. We're living disembodied lives because we're lost and we're imprisoned in a digital world. So I mean, what's one of the ways I flourish is I try to keep my phone away from me as much as possible. I got a landline. I have a real beautiful 5D Mark camera I take pictures with. Like, the more that we can return to these embodied lives. John Eldridge, I love his writing. He says, every habitat has a every creature has a habitat in which it thrives, right? He says a whale can't live in the desert, a parrot can't live in an Antarctica, and he says, "Well, what habitat were we created for? We were created for the garden, right?
That's right.
We are created for the garden. And look where we are today. How far removed are we from this beautiful, lush garden where we're hugging the earth, where we're creating things with our hands, we're digging our flowers in the dirt, we're looking at shooting stars. Like, this is the abundant life we've been created for. And in order to be well, we have to run hard after it. And we have to say, we're not going to conform. As believers, we are called not to conform. So we don't have to conform to the social media circus. And it's really not about saying no to social media. It's about saying yes to a better life. It's about saying yes to the better things of God.
That's right. I love that. So that's the thing the enemy wants us to think is you're giving up something that you need. You're starving yourself of something that will make you happy. Like, but that's the way God works all the time. Is that the things when we pursue His prescription for how we flourish, we get happier, we get more joyful, we get more serotonin, less dopamine, right? More real pleasure. And I think that's a beautiful point you've made. Tell us about Wonderfully Made, about the foundation, the work that you're doing now.
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, so our mission, like I said, is to help girls and women, but especially young women, know their value and their identity and worth. And so we do that. It's been 20 years now, and we do that through our young women's retreats and conferences for young women, the women who love them. We've done countless ones in California and Hawaii for over 10,000 girls and women. If you're a mom, a dad, we have a parent page, we have a youth leader page. Like, come visit us at our website, wonderfullymade.org, and get all the different resources we have. So yeah, we do events. I've done podcasting. I know you've done podcasting a long time. I did it like 9 years now. And I'm actually relaunching the podcast soon, which I'm really excited about. So we have that, and then mental health workshops. But I mentioned this to you earlier before we talked about it. I want to share is um, we're using social media for good. So we got these paid YouTube ads, and it's a storytelling ad. So we targeted them to young women. So, she might be watching this beautiful influencer, like taking her through a diet or workout routine. And then all of a sudden, Allie Marie Smith shows up on the screen in front of her and says, "Hey, you are so loved and you have so much value, and there's a purpose for your life. And do you ever feel like you're not good enough or wonder why you're here?" And then I go in and I share my story. And then I say, there's hope for you. No matter what you're going through, you can come through the other side. For $4,000, that has had over 1 million impressions. Over the average watch time is 1 minute and 10 seconds. We created a custom landing page with a crisis hotline number where they can learn about God, send prayer requests. So that's really exciting. And then, yeah, I have dreams to keep Meta accountable and really make serious changes. I
Wow.
mean, my calling is absolutely to share the gospel, but also to save girls from suicide, to keep them from ending their lives. There is no reason any girl, any person should, I understand how you get there, but there's no excuse for 1 in 3 teen girls to be thinking about killing themselves. And
That's
this
right.
is happening on our watch, and I challenge women of faith, like, we have to do something. We have to pray for these girls. And so I'm inviting women when they go through the book in churches and communities, let's pray for these girls because we have to fight for them. And it's our responsibility. We cannot let this go on.
That's right. That's right. And talk about it. Okay. So all the research, everybody thinks if you talk about suicide, you might plant a thought in somebody, but all the research shows talking about it helps. Like get people to acknowledge what they're feeling. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I wish someone had asked me, I wish when I was in my desperate place, someone asked me like, "Hey, are you having these thoughts?" Because I think that really would have helped me. So yeah, absolutely. We do that at our events. We say, "Hey, if you're having these thoughts, like come to us, talk to someone." Yeah, it's so important to know it. And really, even if we suspect, if we know someone's struggling, or always ask, you know,
That's right.
it could save a life.
Absolutely. Thank you for the work that you're doing and for putting it on paper, for sharing it and getting it out there. It's hard to sometimes tell our own story, but you're really taking leadership in that space. I think you're going to help people. What the message that you have for somebody listening right now who's feeling kind of hopeless? Like, what would you say?
Mm. God has you in his loving grip. And when you can't feel like you can fight for yourself, trust and believe that God is fighting for you. I say sometimes taking it one day at a time is too overwhelming. So take it one breath at a time
Mm.
and keep moving. Um, Try not to be idle. Try to keep your body moving, keep talking, reach out, do not isolate, and just cry out to God, cry out to Him. Hide your face in the book of Psalms. Let your tears fall unashamedly until it stains the pages with your tears. Seek God. Do all you can to turn away from the things that are stealing life, stealing joy from you. And just believe that this isn't the end of your story.
That's
I
right.
mean, I remember what it was like. People say, "Oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel." Oh, no, no, there is not. Yes, friend, there is. There is. And one day you will look back and you will say, "Wow, God, look at what you carried me through." And when you surrender that to Him, He will use it for good.
That's right. Amen. That's a lot of wisdom for a young person. It gives me great hope for the next generations behind me, and I'm thankful for what you're doing. You wrote a blog post. I want to make sure people get it. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to it. But you wrote a blog post that the title was "What Happens in Your Brain and Your Mind When You See Photos and Videos That Make You Feel Good or Bad." Like, tell us where that story came from.
Sure. Well, people are shocked to hear the truth that we can now die with more memories of other people's lives than of our own. And I'd like to make my point really quickly. The average adult scrolls for about 2 hours a day, 2.5 hours a day. So if you were to scroll for 3 hours a day at a rate of 2 seconds per post, that comes out to over 3,600 visual images or posts a day from the age of 20 to 80. That will come out to nearly 80 million visual images of posts. And we know what we look at determines who we become. It shapes who we are. It will shape our mind, our experience. And so I got to thinking, well, what are we looking at, right? Like Dr. Lee Warren, you are an amazing example of how you are using social media for so much good.
Mhm.
But for so many, what are we doing? We're looking at the lives of strangers. We're looking at the world's atrocities, wars. And so I'm sure you can explain it better, but yeah, doing that research. Okay, so if I'm going to see 80 million visual images and posts, are they going to be happy? Like ones that make me happy and make my life better? Are they going to be ones that, don't? So every time we see maybe a photo that makes us not feel good enough or like our life isn't good enough, what that does to our brain, right, is it causes stress on the brain
That's right.
and leads into negative thinking. It makes us more self focused, right? But when we see images that bring us joy and make us happy, we have that dopamine, we have that peace, right? And so the idea too is I go into this a lot, is how not to die with more memories of other people's lives.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it. And I have a list on my blog, allimariesmith.com, what to do, and I can go into that. But the idea is for me is I try to look at every day. I want to look at more photos, videos, images from my own life than I do of my friends, of strangers, of celebrities.
That's
I want to be wide awake to my life. And so there's practical ways that I'm doing that is I have a digital slideshow in my on my kitchen, so it loops photos, beautiful photos from my whole life. So every day I'm seeing beautiful photos of my own life. I'm
That's
not looking at moments of like Kim Kardashian and her latest thong. I mean, I want to look at the beautiful moments from my own life. So that's one the way that I do it. Creating photo albums, looking through it. I just started every day taking one photo a day of something beautiful that sparks joy. And I look at that picture, I imprint it on my brain, and I meditate on that. And so every day, 365, I'm gonna have one beautiful photo from my life. And then when I fall asleep, I go through every day, I go through the most beautiful moments of my day, and I try to remember them in as much detail as I can. And that has been so transformative for me. So, yeah, the idea is let's fall asleep to the lives of other people. If we're going to look at something, if we're going to look at a picture, a video, let's make sure it's something that's going to make us happy, that's going to bring us joy, that's going to restore our soul. We have a decision. Jesus said the eye is the lamp of the body, right? What
right.
we look at determines who we are going to become. It shapes our lives. It is so important. So I love just painting this comprehensive big view of the gravity of social media and what it does to us on a soul level.
Wow. You've given us hope. I appreciate what you're doing. The book is Social Media Reset. Allie Marie Smith is the author. AllieMarieSmith.com is the website. And people can donate right to Wonderfully Made if they go to your
Oh,
website.
yeah, that would be so amazing. Yeah, we just have big dreams and it's so exciting. Yeah, you can learn all about us at wonderfullymade.org. And actually, on my personal website, allimariesmith.com, I have a free quiz that you can take that says, how is social media affecting your well being? And I do write a lot of blogs because um, I get a lot more writing done blogging than I do scrolling.
That's
So,
good. You're writing instead of being on social media, so that's wonderful. Thank you. We're praying for your success, for the breadth and depth of the mission and the work that you're doing. And really an honor to talk to you today, Allie. Thank you for your time and God bless you.
oh, thank you so much, Dr. Ward. I'm so grateful for you. And thank you for the way that you've taken the hard things that you've been through and you've surrendered them to God and you've allowed Him to use them to bring so much hope and healing to people. You didn't have to do that. And I just want you to know you're not going to know until you get to heaven how many lives you have changed. So I will speak with everyone listening. We're so grateful for you. And thanks for being my spiritual brain surgeon.
I love it. Thank you so much. What a great talk. I'm so grateful for the time that Allie spent with us today. We have 3 copies of Allie's book, Social Media Reset, available from the incredible publicity team over at Tyndale. Listen, if you'd like to be considered for a copy of Allie's book, I have a favor to ask you first. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and subscribe on YouTube, click that bell icon. All those things will help us. So if you want a free copy of the book, please do that for us. But also, here's how you get the book. Send me an email, contact@drleewarren.com, contact@drleewarren.com. Do not send an email, friend, and just say, I would love a copy of the book. Don't say that. We need your address. You'd be surprised how many people email and say they want the book, but don't give us their address. You're not going to get a book if I can't send it to you, okay? So name, mailing address, and zip code. Name, mailing address, and zip code need to be in the email. We'd love to hear your story, what's going on, how you found our work, how it's helping you. But at the bare minimum, if you want to be considered for a book, please send us an email, contact@drleewarren.com, and give us your name, your mailing address, and your zip code. We can't send it to a P.O. box, and we can't send it to an address outside the United States. These books are coming from the publisher, so we don't want to ask them to spend more money than they have allotted for these books. So please, U.S. addresses only, name, mailing address, and zip code. Sorry for the inconvenience if you have a P.O. box, but we need a physical address. That's how you can get a copy of this incredible book. Let me tell you what it does. Social Media Reset offers you a practical solution to the ever-present mental health crisis that's going on from social media addiction. Allie helps us unpack how social media affects our souls, not just our brains and our minds. It helps women overcome social media addiction and find freedom by setting practical boundaries. And if you're a mom and you have boys, you could take Allie's ideas and apply them equally to your young men that you're raising. It would help you, okay? So I highly encourage you to read Allie's book, to follow her. She is on social media, but she takes frequent breaks and she interacts intermittently. So social media is useful as a tool. That's what I'm trying to do with it too. but we're trying to create environments where people don't just endlessly scroll. And we're trying to give you content on social media that's not just a meaningless dopamine hit. Okay. Take a social media reset and get your balance back. Find that flourishing that God has put you here to achieve. And check out AllieMarieSmith.com. She's a great writer and a leader in this space of helping people find freedom. And I know she can help you. Friend, it's been a great honor to have Allie on the show. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. Contact at drleewarren.com. And don't forget, you can't change your life until you change your mind. And the good news is you can start today. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please subscribe wherever you listen and be sure to follow me at Dr. Lee Warren on Instagram and YouTube. And to get the most out of the show, make sure to get my free weekly self-brain surgery prescriptions. Sign up at drleewarren.substack.com and I'll send you the powerful thought biopsy worksheet for free. drleewarren.substack.com. Every Sunday since 2014, I've been bringing you my best prescriptions for how you can smash faith and neuroscience together to become healthier, feel better, and be happier starting today. I'm Dr. Lee Warren reminding you to have a very self-brain surgery day.